This is my presentation. I wanted to talk about reading the world, critical media literacy, and evidence-based argument. I chose option 3, the UnitPlan, the amplify and extend the text. The core textbook anchor that I used was Teaching Reading Sourcebook, the 3rd edition. The unit product, students publish a fact-checked multimedia argument about a community issue. The essential question that I want us to be looking at throughout this presentation is how do readers decide what information is trustworthy and how can writers use evidence responsibly? The reason I chose option 3 for this textbook is because option 3 asks for a unit plan that builds from a textbook. It adds complementary resources and presents how those resources deepen practical teaching applications. Chosen discipline was, of course, English language arts, reading informational text, evaluating sources, and writing arguments. Chosen extension moved from reading comprehension to civic, digital, and media literacy. The final demonstration would be a 3-week standard aligned unit with differentiated lessons, assessments, and culminating product. Core text and the gap this unit addresses: textbook anchor, teacher reading, sourcebook, 3rd edition. Key idea: skilled readers actively build meaning by using vocabulary, comprehension strategies, fluency, and text-structured knowledge. The amplification: students need to do more than comprehend a text. They must test claims, trace evidence, notice perspective, and communicate responsibilities across the media. Unit challenge: turn textbook strategy instruction into a real-world inquiry cycle. You read, you question, you verify, synthesize, argue, and publish. From can students understand informational text toward can students judge, use, and produce information ethically, and the end result, which is more authentic reading, writing, and discussion. Okay. And this slide, this is more like a unit overview. It would be 7th grade ELA. The length would be 15 class periods, 45 to 55 minute each. Unit theme would be media evidence and community issues, and the final product would be fact-checked multimedia argument. A little description is students analyze how authors and media sources shape information. Students compared multiple sources on the same issue and evaluate credibility. Students write and present an evidence-based argument using responsible citations. Students reflect on how literacy choices affect readers, communities, and civic life. My next slide is learning targets and standard alignment. Students will be able to identify claims, reasons, and evidence in nonfiction text, evaluate source credibility, purpose, bias, and evidence quality, synthesize information across print, visual, and digital text, compose an argument with relevant evidence and clear reasoning, discuss media messages respectfully, and revise based on feedback. These are the aligned standards. You could read them for yourself. Here are some additional resources that extend the textbook. Just a few I'll name off is News Literacy Project, Checkology, interactive lessons on misinformation, bias, and credible information. Purdue OWL source evaluation. We have CAS UDL guidelines, and my personal favorite, NCTE media education and ELA positions media literacy as a core part of English language arts. Teaching Move, each resource adds a lens the textbook alone cannot fully provide: credibility, media design, civic purpose, and accessible participation. Okay, now we're getting down to how each week is going to go, broadly, but also a little bit more broken down. Week 1, we would read and notice. With these, we're going to look at the claims, evidence, texture features, author purposes. We're working on for week 2, which is verify and compare. The lateral reading, source checks, media bias, corroboration, and week 3, that's when we create and defend. Argument drafting, peer review, multimedia presentation. Here's some lesson snapshots and teaching methods. For the hook, I would say, would you share it? Students rank sample posts and headlines from trustworthy to questionable, then identify what evidence they used. 2, close reading lab. Teacher models annotating claim, reasons, evidence, loaded language, and unanswered questions. 3, source triangulation. Students compare a textbook excerpt and news article, infographic, and primary source on one issue. And here's your workshop, which is evidence ladder. Students sort evidence from weak to strong and explain why. We have a writing conference. We would have small group and have a conference targeted claim, precision, reasoning, counterclaim, and citation, and 6 final presentation rehearsal. Students practice 2-minute multimedia arguments and use a peer feedback protocol. My teaching methods would be gradual release, collaborative inquiry, station rotation, mini lessons, peer review, and UDL choice boards. Okay, here is my assessment plans on diagnostic, formative, and summative. The diagnostic would be media trust meter, quick write, what makes a source reliable. Our formative would be annotation checks, exit tickets, source credibility, organizer, discussion tracker, claim, and evidence conferences. Our summative would be multimedia argument, claim, credible evidence from 3+ sources, counterclaim, citation, and reflective rationale. Rubric categories would include source evaluation, use of evidence, speaking, listening, reflection. This is your passing criteria, which is claim is specific and arguable, at least 3 credible sources, evidence is cited and explained, students identifies at least 1 limitation or counterclaim, and then the presentation has to be clear, ethical, and accessible. Feedback loop would be I, as a teacher, checks accuracy before publishing, peers focus on clarity and evidence, students revise and submit a final reflection. Differentiation and access and classroom supports for emerging readers, chunk text, audio or read aloud options, vocabulary preview, evidence sentence frames. For multilingual learners, visual glossary, partner rehearsal, home language brainstorming, modeled think alouds. For advanced learners, independent source set, stronger counterclaim requirements, optional podcast/video format, lead discussion roles. UDL design choices, students can show learning through a slide deck, short video, podcast segment, infographic, or live mini lesson. Every option must meet the same evidence and citation criteria. Classroom culture, use norms for discussing controversial information, critique ideas, cite evidence, ask clarifying questions, and pause before sharing. Why does this unit matter? Well, the textbook teaches the reading moves. This unit asks students to use those moves where they matter most, in the information ecosystem they live in every day. ELA becomes a more than finding the answer. Students learn to slow down, investigate, weigh evidence, recognize perspective, and communicate with responsibility. My final reflection would be, how did you understand of reading change when the text was not just a textbook page, but a public message competing for your trust? Finally, here are my references, and this is the end of my project. Thank you.